Understanding the mechanism of perception and consciousness. Here we go. Now, I won't use any regular scientific vocabulary. I'm not going to talk about how sensory cells or nerve cells function and how the brain processes information. There's going to be none of that. See, I've been studying my own consciousness in my direct perception. So instead of reading dozens of books and interpreting words or data, I just sit down and start focusing on my own consciousness and try to figure out how it is possible that I become aware of anything whatsoever. So what I've discovered, and this is not something new, but very important nonetheless, is that you can only become aware or perceive anything in reality because of contrast. Now, this word contrast is extremely important in understanding perception and consciousness. This entire video, I shall talk and elaborate on it very excessively. So for the sake of simplicity, we're going to pick one object of attention that we are going to explore, for example, our hand. So take a look at your hand right now. Really, seriously, take your hand in front of your face and try to perceive it as well as possible. Now ask yourself the question, how does this thing appear in my awareness? How is it possible that I can perceive this? Yes, it has to do with your eyeballs, with your retina, with the light bouncing off your hand at different angles, with your sensory cells and nerve cells, with the prefrontal cortex, yada yada yada. All of that knowledge is fine, but all of that knowledge is considered to be manifesting in the external world outside of consciousness. But all I can say from within my consciousness, my direct experience, is that I'm able to perceive my hand because it is distinguishable from the background in which it is manifesting. The hand, or the object of attention, is perceivable due to its ability to distinguish itself from everything which is not itself, and that defines the contrast. So what is important right now is that we need to focus mainly on the distinguishment or the contrast itself. So look at your hand again. Where does your hand and the background meet each other? Where does your hand begin and where does the background begin? Notice that it's precisely where the hand and the background are fusing together that outlines your perception of it. Okay? And that right there is precisely the center of your experience. In other words, your experience of your hand and the background is centered in between the both of them. Both the hand and the background stand in contrast with each other, and your experience of both the hand and the background is located exactly where they fuse together. Now I challenge you, try to find the boundary between your hand and the background. Notice that this boundary, or the place where the hand and the background are fusing together, is not a perception that you can perceive. The boundary itself is not a distinguishable perception or experience. It is literally experience itself. The only thing you can experience is the hand and the background, and the experience of the hand and the background itself is precisely located in between the both of them. So this means that you, as the perceiver, as the experiencer, are literally located in between the objects you're looking at. Do you get that? You are literally the unification of the hand and the background, the location where they fuse together to define the contrast and to become an experience. Now, scientifically speaking, if we really want to know where an object begins and where it ends, we just zoom in on it, only to discover that the boundary is just a fuzzy field of chaotically moving molecules, where the molecules of the object slowly fades into the surrounding air molecules, or whatever kind of molecules that makes up the background. So now we are dealing with perceivable molecular objects, so to speak. We are able to distinguish the perception of certain types of molecules. Now let's zoom in deeper and deeper and deeper to the other limits of our most advanced observation equipments. And even beyond that, let's try to figure out mathematically what reality is made out of at the very bottom. Now, as most of you know, the deeper we dig into reality, the harder it gets to make accurate perceptions, or better known as measurements. We are dealing with quantum mechanical phenomena here, whereby making accurate perceptions are probabilistic. Nothing is really determined on this level. We don't really know where an electron begins and where it ends. It's spread out over space and time. Now, what does this all mean? Why are we dealing with these quantum mechanical phenomena? Now, here's what I think. As we dig deeper and deeper into the perceivable reality, we are actually approaching perception or experience itself. We can easily distinguish a dog from a cat because there is a clear boundary between them, so that we can perceive the dog and the cat individually. And as I have said, the experience itself of the dog and the cat, or the hand and the background, is precisely the boundary that separates the dog from the cat, the hand from the background. So, as we dig deeper into the boundary that separates the dog from the cat, or as we dig deeper into the separate molecules and separate atoms of the cat or the dog, the boundary becomes really fuzzy. This is because the boundary or experience itself is not an experienceable phenomena. Once again, it is the experience itself that lies in between what it is experiencing, and the experience itself cannot be experienced. And so, we are approaching the level of experience itself, whereby it becomes harder and harder to determine an experience or a perception. Now, what this ultimately means is that the fabric of reality is made out of experience itself, which is itself not experienceable. Thus, there is no separate experiencer that is experiencing whatever experience. The experience is the experiencer itself. In other words, you as the experiencer are literally the thing that you are experiencing. As you are looking at your hand is fundamentally made out of you as the experiencer. But since you don't dig deep enough into the experience of your hand, you still experience it as something separate from you as the experiencer. We're not viewing reality from the very bottom because the bottom is unexperienceable, because the bottom is the experience itself. We are viewing reality from a more unconscious level, actually, mostly. The more conscious you become of reality, the more you dig deeper into experience itself, whereby you finally hit the bottom of you experiencing yourself as the fabric of all of reality. But on average, Our consciousness is not that far developed. So if your consciousness is underdeveloped, you will forever experience reality from its surface, and you will only see distinguishable objects, instead of digging deeper into the objects to realize that the objects are made out of yourself as something unexperienceable. And that's the way it is. But if you disagree, go ahead and fill the comment section with some good counter arguments. So yeah, okay, bye.